Hi guys, welcome to my second Torchwood video of the week, focusing on celebrating Torchwood and kind of all the good things and everything about it, as it is the 10th anniversary of Torchwood on Saturday. And as you can see from the title today, I'm going to answer the question of whether the death of Toshiko Sato and Owen Harper in the Series 2 Episode 13, Exit Wounds, is the saddest moment ever in the whole Doctor Who universe. Well, I've been rewatching Series 1 and 2 of Torchwood recently, and I just finished in the last couple of days watching the end of Series 2 and those very sad scenes with Toshiko and Owen where they die, which I'm with Owen's death, I'm focusing on that final episode death, not his partial death then resurrection earlier in the series, because that's kind of, he didn't actually die, did he? So it's slightly different, I think. But here it's an interesting one, because I remember when I watched this episode for the first time, I think about 2.5 years ago, when I was just marathoning the whole of Torchwood because I'd never seen it before. I mean, literally watching like 3 episodes a day kind of thing to get through it as quickly as possible. And I remember I did actually get a bit emotional about it when they were dying. I mean, it was kind of one of those a very few moments where I really felt really sad about some characters dying, which I hadn't actually experienced before really in any other shows. I mean, there'd been some sad departures in Doctor Who. Rose, the 10th Doctor, Donna, the 11th Doctor, Amy and Rory, all these different ones, but I never felt that sort of sad and emotional over it as I did about Tosh and Owen, which was really interesting, I thought, when I watched it, and I think only Clara's death has come close since. So it's I think that really sort of spells out that, for me at least, it is a really sad moment. I mean, it's just sort of really a really harsh sort of death, I think, and harsh between those two characters, because we know Tosh and her kind of love for Owen that he could never really get and understand properly until it's too late, as he talks about at the end. I'm sorry, Tosh, sort of, I guess we just kind of missed each other. That was my fault. So Owen, after he's had his little ragey screaming moment, which breaks Tosh nearly, and then he sort of settles down and just sort of says, I'm sorry, really. And I mean, I really like Owen's character. He's probably one of my favourite characters in Torchwood. I think that Series 2 Episode 12, Fragments, where we get the look back in sort of how they all join Torch and everything, I think for Owen in particular, that massively enhances his character, because I can understand for some people that early in Series 1 it can feel like Owen's not a very nice character. He's very cynical, he's all just a bit mean and annoying, particularly with Gwen and stuff, and it's just, I can see why some people would say he's a bit unlikable early on, but I think when you watch the series retrospectively, having seen Owen's backstory in Fragments, you can really understand why he's like that, because he's sort of, you kind of see those shots initially when he's talking to his fiancée, I think it is. You can see how much of a different character is when he's so mellow and so nice and so sort of calm a character. And you can just see that so completely different to how he becomes, because that was sort of before this whole traumatised experience of his wife losing her memory and then actually having some alien squid in her head which killed her and everything, the person that he's loved and everything. And you can just see how much that's affected him, and then the sort of trauma with Jack there initially as well, and it just makes it so much, I think that enhances his character so much. You can really understand why he's like this, why he sort of, I guess, doesn't like relationships and kind of can be so cynical and a bit miserable, because he's had such harsh life experience, I guess, and life events that have really scarred him, I think. So that really adds to the character, and then just makes it even all the more painful when sort of Tosh is there, and that's someone that I think she loves him, and I think that could have been reciprocated sort of if he hadn't died. You could sort of see he was warming to that prospect, and then they miss out on that together, and it's really harsh, I think, on them. It's a sort of really harsh death, whereas you sort of have sad deaths and then you have harsh deaths, and this is definitely one of those. It's just a really sort of emotional moment. And then Owen, after having a bit of a rage and then a bit of a sad moment with Tosh, he finally just kind of accepts it, that's what it is, that that's it, that's the end, that is my death. And so he's sort of, he has a slight scream for help at the end, but then that's it. We sort of, this massive fade to complete whiteness. I wonder why they did that. Is it to sort of represent the radiation, or is it to kind of represent the opposite of the darkness into the light, being taken into the light? I'm not quite sure. It's interesting, but no, we get that complete fade out, and it's just a very sad moment for Owen to die like that, sort of getting trapped in there and then just decomposing away. I guess they say he will decompose away. And then we have the well, Tosh is already dying by this stage, I think. She's been shot by Gray, so Gray ultimately kills Tosh. But I think for those few sort of minutes before, I think that Owen is keeping her going, and that if Owen wasn't there, she probably would have died a lot quicker. Her sort of love for him and wanting to help him was what kept her going for those last few minutes. Of course, the drama as well, but within the show, those last few minutes were helped by Owen being there, because once Owen dies, literally a minute later, she died as well. So I think that's very much kind of Owen was keeping her going for those last few minutes, and at least then the Torchwood team get to see her just before she dies. But then she sort of dies as well, and it's all very sad and miserable and depressing. And I think I remember seeing an interview with Eve Miles saying that actually sort of the tears she had were real tears. She was genuinely crying about it as she was doing it, because it was such a sad moment for her. So it sort of showed that for the cast as well, it was a really, really sad ending for them. And I think it just works so brilliantly. The music is perfection from Murray Gold / Ben Foster. I'm not quite sure who. I think Ben Foster might have scored Torchwood Series 2. So sort of a combination of those two. That it's done brilliantly, and I really love that soundtrack too. I mean, it's great that it got released as well. That's always a bonus. But no, it's just a really, really sad scene overall. I think I can't. My English is terrible. I haven't got better words to say than it's just heartbreaking, I guess, that just the way that they've died, and those sort of characters that have been so troubled in their lives, they've kind of been saved by Torchwood a bit, but then they nearly could really express their feelings about each other, but it was too late, and then they got sort of drawn apart in the end. So it's overall, it's hard to define what's the saddest moment in the show's history. I don't know, because I think it's completely subjective, of course. Depends on how emotionally invested you are into the characters. I'm sure for a lot of people it's Rose, for a lot of people it's the 10th Doctor, for the 11th Doctor, probably less for Clara, but a few for Clara, and maybe for Yanto as well in Torchwood. Obviously not for Esther or Rex or whoever else. I don't really think they care enough about those. But there's all these sort of emotional moments that's very subjective. For me, it's definitely right up there. I don't know whether it's the best. It's hard to define the best for me, but it's right up there at the top, just simply because of my first reaction to it. I can remember feeling so sad about it, really. It's not the same when you watch it again. I don't think it ever is. When you rewatch something, it's not quite as sad. But the first time, for it to be that sad, you can really feel that is an emotional moment. And I sense that the next time I'll sort of feel like that will probably be when Peter Capaldi leaves. I think that'll bring me towards that. But I think it depends how emotional they go for his departure, because I don't know, because he's a very different kind of Doctor. I don't know whether they'll go for the all-out sort of 10th and 11th Doctor style sad speeches, it's all crying, miserable kind of thing, or whether it'll be a sort of 9th Doctor, slightly more triumphant departure. I don't know. I think that will define how sad it feels to me, but I'm sure I'll be very sad when Peter Capaldi leaves, and that's probably the one that will rival this. But overall, it is one of the saddest moments in the show's history, I think. But one thing to point out that I wanted to mention is sort of related to this, is who wrote the last two episodes of Series 2 of Torchwood, episode 12, Fragments, and episode 13, Exit Wounds. I wonder who wrote those. Oh yeah, Chris Chibnall wrote those. And these are generally rated as two of the best episodes of Torchwood ever. Definitely the two best in the first two series. Only probably below Children of Earth, if anything. They're very much right up there. And they're written by Chris Chibnall. And he wrote an emotional exit, and it was all brilliant. So I think it shows that as much as Chris Chibnall hasn't written the greatest Doctor Who, he wrote a couple of duds in Torchwood. He can write some brilliant television, some brilliant episodes of Torchwood. Broadchurch is brilliant. And therefore you should have some optimism for him, guys. Come on, let's be optimistic for Series 11, because just watch those episodes that he does of Torchwood and you can see that he can write a brilliant piece of television, even if he hasn't always done it consistently. And I mean, Moffat doesn't write consistently good television either, but I guess he gets hate. I mean, no one writes consistently good television, so what are you going to get? You can't find anybody like that. So that's just my a little bit of comeback all the people hating on Chris Chibnall for coming in, because he can write some brilliant television, as these last 2 episodes show and this last scene shows. And well, that's it for today, I think. My slightly sad and depressing Torchwood video, I think. Tomorrow there'll be a review of the very first episode of Torchwood, Everything Changes, looking at why it's such a brilliant introduction to the show and just everything around that. It is very much a positive review of the show, so I'm sure you're looking forward to that, hearing my glowing praise for the first episode. So hope you're going to watch that. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think is the saddest sort of Whoniverse, as I use the word, Doctor Who moment ever. Whether it's this Tosh and Owen's death, or whether it's Rose's death, or anything else. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. And I will see you tomorrow for another video. Goodbye.